Hello, everyone. I'm Jane Gratmans, the creator of Empowered Feminine Leadership. And I want to remind everyone that Susan and I get together on a weekly basis and we share some tips and interesting discussions that we hope will help you on your journey of leadership, of feminine leadership, which is a whole different thing from how many of us have felt conditioned in the past of how to show up. And so, Susan, just introduce yourself and then we'll get started.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Susan Blaine, and I'm the founder of the Dare to Be Vulnerable project. Uh, and I'm a student of feminine energy, empowered feminine leadership with Jane. We've been working together for a little over 6 months. I love the work. It's been very instrumental in my healing journey as I navigate myself to mental well-being through a lot of hurdles, like many of us. And this work has been very powerful for me. And I'm excited to be together with Jane, creating some of this content together, bringing some value, hopefully, to those of you that are watching and listening and maybe curious about this work. And um, yeah, thank you, Jane. Thank you for for leading with these. And thank you for the support uh, and your commitment to this work. I'm really grateful that I found this work. It's accelerated my ascension. It's been fabulous.
And mine too. Thank you, Susan. So, yesterday, Susan, we did a coaching call together. And what I am hearing from you is that there are some exciting things that are happening through the work that you're doing, opportunities that are coming up. And um, we talked about something that happens when that occurs, when you hear some really great news, because what goes on often is that there's a psychological process that happens that actually limits how much joy and pleasure that you allow into your life. And
Yeah.
it's subconscious. We're not usually aware of this. So what I wanted to share with everyone today is some of the things that actually can occur when you are starting to expand in your leadership, right? You're going into new territory that you haven't been before because your role's expanding. It's getting excited, opportunities come up. What often happens is that there are several things that might happen that will occur that put a limit on how much you can get excited and feel the joy and pleasure in your life and really feel that expansion occur. And it's all about the mind, the false self that wants to keep you in your comfort zone, keep you safe,
Yeah.
and doesn't want you to expand. And so our job is to pay attention, expect that it's going to happen, and figure out which one is occurring, and then have the awareness of it and reassure it that it's okay. You're ready to expand more. It's safe. So tell me about what happened when we talked about that together. What was one or two of the big things that you noticed happens when you get this opportunity? Things are starting to go really good, and
Yeah. I think what I realized in our discussion yesterday is my subconscious awareness of that pattern. Uh, the words, the upper limit that we have in place uh, unconsciously I feel it. I feel it every time I experience things in my life too good to be true. When's the next shoe gonna drop? This fear of expanding beyond my comfort zone. That the feeling that comes along with it. There's excitement and then there's fear. So it's just recognizing that feeling, but not necessarily putting it to words. And in our conversation yesterday, we talked about the um, when that upper limit appears. And we identified in our conversation 9 different ways, that it shows up, like the little negative voice in our mind saying things that you called it mental resistance. I
So
love that.
yeah, tell me about that, Susan. Let's go into one of them. What
Yeah. So
what
that one, yeah, I think that's a big one for a lot of people. Again, not necessarily fully conscious. It's like an old friend or a frenemy
yeah.
that is going on that is an old tape playing. That's my phone, musical phone going off in the background. That rears its head, that an old pattern. And so for me, yes, a lot of exciting things happening in the growth and building of this project. And there's a, a reoccurring thought pattern that plays for me, and it's fear-based. It's fear of failure, not believing that I'm good enough to ascend beyond a certain level. Um, and Many of the 9 different ways that it is experienced or felt, that upper limit that's felt, I have them all. I mean, I've experienced them all. Um, and more than just the chatter, for me, it's also the feeling in the body that I get. It's a feeling in a pain body. It's a resistance. It's a oh no, I've got to hunker down and hide, and okay, you can't, and I have this pattern of behavior that where I'll call it, I hermit. I go with, I hide. I I alienate myself. I just burrow. That's a very familiar pattern for me. But what I found interesting is that the 9, and then the homework you gave me was to think about other ways that I feel it when it happens and how it manifests. That there's so many different ways that it shows up,
Yeah.
and you're not conscious of it. It's just part of, your method of operation, your process, your system.
Yeah, and
Uh,
let's also talk about was really interesting because I had thought beforehand that this practice might support you because you are starting to expand so nicely. And what happened to your back?
oh yeah. So it actually physically manifested in a tightness and pain in my lower back. And we had half of our coaching session me lying on the floor.
Yeah. And that's what happens, right? Is that's another one of the things that can happen, and there are probably beyond 9, but we talked about 9 sort of core ones. But it can occur that something in your body will start to give you pain.
Yeah.
And it's really this pairing of pain and pleasure that comes up, which is, in a way, it's an expansion of your spiritual life as well, to be able to handle both of those at the same time. But when it's this expansion, something exciting happens, and then bang, your back starts to act up. And it might be, if you start to pay attention to it, whenever you do get some, great news, this may be a recurring pattern that you haven't noticed. And so
Yeah.
what do you do about it? you notice it, you send yourself love, you send your back love, and you make a conscious choice to keep going anyways and keep going on your path of expansion. And you reassure your back that it's all okay. Because once you start reassuring your false self that it's okay, you
That
can,
you're safe.
yes,
That was some of the terminology you used or the words you used, and that really spoke to me
yeah.
because I used the word fear.
Mhm.
That's an emotion that I associate with this pattern, fear. I think a lot of people that are watching can identify, and that's a commonly used word to describe how we're feeling.
Yeah.
It's more complex than that often, but it's fear. And the idea of soothing, of comforting myself, of reassuring myself that I'm safe really helps to release that fear.
Yeah. And
Instead of playing into it, instead of allowing it to grow and to build, which I've done in the past, and then that it's cumulative, right? And anxiety comes from that, and all kind of back pain, all kinds of stuff. So, what's the antidote?
compassion for oneself, awareness that it's happening, because so many of us don't even realize that this is going on, right?
Exactly.
Because we're moving so fast in our life, and it's this training, the conditioning that we've had that we got to keep going, we got to keep doing this, we're so task oriented, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
actually that keeps us stuck in these cycles. So when we start to do some of this work and we take the time to be more observant of what are the patterns that are going on that keep holding us back, it gives us a chance to release that so that we
Yeah.
can move into more expansion in our leadership. It's
In
this,
our life. In
yeah,
our life, leadership of leading ourselves. So sometimes, leadership can be an intimidating word, I find, for people who maybe don't see themselves, let's say, in management. Some people associate the word leadership with entrepreneurship or management. But, it's leading ourselves
100%.
in our in into our expansion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's when I speak about leadership, I'm talking about anyone who wants to lead a better life and
Yeah.
wants to lead in their relationships. Who doesn't want to have a better relationship or wants to enjoy their work more and feel that they're really contributing as best as they can? That takes leadership to step up and to do things differently. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is just a little peek into a really powerful practice that can
Yeah.
really help you to see what may be going on that is a shadow, right? Things
Well,
that we
the
see.
the fact that we limit ourselves, sorry to interrupt, here's the thing that also struck me, if I may add as we conclude, is the fact that we do limit ourselves from experiencing joy and pleasure and we don't even realize it. That we want to experience, that's the human, I think the true desire is truly to experience more joy and pleasure. We all want to experience more joy and pleasure in our life because we don't have to work for the fear part, but we really I feel like we need to work for the joy and pleasure, which should be a natural way, but we need to reprogram ourselves to allow more. And that really sat with me too,
Yeah.
Jane, that I was limiting the joy and pleasure in my feeling the joy and pleasure in my life and the things that are happening around me because of this pattern of thinking, limited thinking.
Yeah. And when we do classes together, we build the capacity to hold more pleasure in our body. We've got a really cool moving meditation that
Yes.
we do on a daily basis to try and build that up. And it's all about, instead of thinking your way through everything and trying to fix what's not working well for you, we try to create the physical experience of it so that we can get there faster.
Love it.
Yeah, cool work. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Susan, thank you. You're always so great and articulate in how you experience these practices and how they touch you in a profound way. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.